Welcome to Dice Tower Live.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to more live 2018 coverage from the Dice Tower. We are currently looking at our top 10s of the year. We're taking a look at our top 10 two-player games of 2018. So a couple things here. First of all, I haven't played every game from 2018, so I will try to keep that in mind. Also, I picked games that I really like playing with two players. So there might be some games on here he's like, well, I like this game a lot. Well, I tried to pick one I thought worked really well with two. And I also know there's a big difference in two-player games. Like a two-player game I might play with my wife or my, grandpa might be different than a two-player game I play with Die-Hard Wargamer. Although you're not going to see any heavy war games on my list. But they're just very different kinds of war games or, Ameritrash style games or what have you. So keep that in mind. Let's get started. And we're going to start with my top 10 two-player games. Number 10 is a very light game that's only for two players, and that is Cake Duel. So Cake Duel is a game about two people fighting over cake. And you are attacking each other with different sheep. So you have wizards and soldiers and defenders and scientists. Oh my. You're basically going to pick a card, play it, and say, I'm stealing. This guy is taking two of your piece of cake. And you're like, no, you're not. I'm defending with this guy. And you both could be lying. And you can call the other person out and say they're lying. It's essentially a two-player game of coup. Lots of cool cards if you like the sheep artwork and stuff, and they made all kinds of promotional sets and special sets and all sorts of things. But for the most part, it's just a very quick, basic bluffing game of two players, and that is Cake Duel, my number 2. You can have your cake and eat it too. Ha 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 ha. That's my number 10. Did I say 2? Sorry. I'm a little unfocused here. Number 9 is from Plaid Hat Games, and this game actually goes up to 4 players, but I prefer it only with 2, and this is Guardians. So Plaid Hat is the king of the two-player game, right? They still have not yet reached the lofty heights of Summoner Wars. They've done a lot of different games, and I believe they another game I considered for this list that came out this year, also a two-player game from Plaid Hat. I call it the Knife Fight in the Phone Booth. Anyway, that one's gone out of my memory, but Guardians, you have a bunch of superheroes, and you're fighting someone else's superheroes. And they're made-up superheroes. Plaid Hat's really good at coming up with their own universes and things like that. And it's almost like a superhero. Some people call it MOBA, which at first I was kind of opposed to, but I'm seeing how it could look that way, where you have these just different areas that you're fighting over with special abilities and your own little deck of cards. Each of these guys comes with their own cards, their own abilities, and one super-duper ability. So my number 9, Guardians. I like this one a lot, from Plaid Hat Games. Number 8 is a small little reprint of a game that came out a few years ago from Japan, and AEG reprinted this one, and that is Greedy Kingdoms. Greedy Kingdoms is an absolutely fantastic two-player game where you're trying to outwit the other person. Basically, it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors style game where you're each going to play, well, one person's the attacker, and they're going to play some cards that give them resources and things. The other person's trying to play cards, the same cards, to stop you. They're trying to guess which cards you're going to play. So they're going to pick the best cards, but you know they're going to pick the best cards, so you play the second best cards. But they knew that you wouldn't pick the best cards because they knew you were going to pick the best cards. So therefore, by me knowing that you knew that I knew that you were going to, I don't remember where I'm at, but the fact is that's what the game is. Lots of fun, and then you build different buildings. The whole thing is a fun little two-player game, and that is Greedy Kingdoms. Number 7. And someone's asking, are these two-player game only or games best with 2? No, it's neither one of those. They're games that are great for 2 people. I didn't say they're best with 2. I'm saying if you have 2 people, these are 10 games I picked from 2018. Okay, most of them are two-player only. A lot of them are two-player only, and there's at least one that should only ever be played two-player. But anyway, where are we at? Number 7. This is a sequel to a game that was originally published in 1999, which is 20 years ago, and that is Lost City Rivals. Now, Lost Cities, of course, being a great two-player game. The cards in my set are very worn out. Well, they aren't because I just got a new set. But the first set, we played Lost City so much. Now, Lost City Rivals actually goes to 4 players, but I think it's best with 2. and it is an auctioning game where you're going to auction for cards and then put them down, trying to put them in ascending order, kind of like Lost Cities, except there's this auctioning, and auctions don't normally work well with 2 players. Auctions, you need lots of players for them to be involved, but it does work really well. In Lost Cities Rivals, I did not expect it to be good. I thought it was a bit of a cash grab when I first saw it, that Cosmos was doing, but it's actually a very fun little game. Lost City Rivals, that is my number 7. Number 6 is a very pretty game. It's one of the prettiest games on the list. And of course, pretty and Red Raven Games is kind of synonymous, and that is Haven. Haven, if you want, you can go back on our channel. You can see a live play of us doing it. Haven, one person is playing the city that's conquering the forest, and the other person is playing the forest. It's an Avatar-style theme. But you have these cool spirits that are walking around, and you are basically fighting a little game of war here between these 3 different things, putting out cards. You have the same basic cards, but there are special cards that give you special advantages, and then you're making these little offerings, which kind of say when something is going to score. The whole thing comes together in a really nice combination. I'm pretty happy with how it plays. It's fast, it's simple, but it seems like there's a lot of depth there. This is one that hasn't been getting a ton of people talking about it, but Alf Siegert and Ryan Lockett did a really good job at putting this one together. That's Haven, and that is my number 6. Number 5 is the only game on this list that I believe had the first and second edition come out in the same year, or first and second season. Although the second season is probably considered a 2019 release since I just got my copy like last week, and that is Dice Throne. So Dice Throne, select your champion, command your dice to take the throne. Dice Throne comes with a whole bunch of different characters, really well done artwork. I liked it. I was on our top 10 artwork list. And then you get a bunch of dice, you have a bunch of special abilities, and it's essentially Yahtzee combat. Now, think of it as King of Tokyo. Now, you can play with multiple players and fight each other, whatever. It's best with 2, in my opinion. You fight 2 players, you're going to roll dice, and you get different attacks and maybe different kinds of defense that you can have. Each character feels very different. I'm looking very forward to trying out Season 2 because I think that's a neat idea to have all these different characters. Also, Season 2 production values were through the roof. So Dice Throne, my number 5. Number 4. Well, if I had to put this on the list, people would have cried foul because this one is so obvious. Number 4 is Keyforge. Of course, it is not just a gimmick. It is not just a throwaway game. I actually really like the gameplay of Keyforge. In Keyforge, you have 3 different factions in your deck. Here's different cards from the different factions. On your turn, you're going to pick one of those factions, and you get to play cards with that faction, attack with that faction, mine with that faction. All the cards feel extremely overpowered, except your opponent also has these overpowered cards, and there's just so many different cards. Like, here's some more cards. Maybe if I tap it, it will change. Oh, there we go. And so this is like one of the factions here, and all these different cards do various things. There's rare cards, not rare cards. I have like 15 decks, and I like all the different decks. They're just fun to play with. So that's Keyforge. Number 3 is a game that can be played up to 4 players, and I think it actually works really well with 2 or 4. 3 is okay. This is one you probably were not expecting to see on the list at all, and that's Drop It. The thing that you say when the guy has a gun, you're like, hey, drop it. Anyway, so you drop in these shapes into this. When you play with 2 players, each player plays 2 colors, and it becomes a very fun, very strategic, intriguing game because Drop It's kind of like a silly type game. Hey, I'm dropping these things in, and they land in different places. And there's probably some people right now like, why? How are you even putting this on your list? Because I played this 2-player in 2018 at least 25 times, easily. It's that good. And you sit there and you have fun, and you can play this with anybody. Not every game needs to be some big, grandiose 2-player game. Sometimes the simplest 2-player game can be one of the best. And I like it that much, and it's on my list. So my number 3, Drop It. Okay, now I talked about the simplicity and small game. My number 2 is kind of the opposite of that. Number 2 is a humongous game, although the game's a lot simpler than I thought when I first saw it, and that is The Edge Dawnfall. And this box is not even a very good representation. This is just like 2 of the factions. You can get a box that has gobs and gobs of stuff. In fact, the game comes with gobs and gobs of stuff. Look at all those miniatures. That's ridiculous. All right, to have that many, you don't play with that many on the board. It's just someone put them all up on the table there. But you pick a bunch of these guys, and you get a bunch of cards, okay? And they each have different stats and abilities on them. And then you pick a deck of cards that you'll be using to fight against your opponent. And you can build this deck in any way you want. And it's once you start playing, you're basically moving, attacking, rolling dice. It's a very simple game. It reminds me of HeroScape with some pretty ugly / beautiful miniatures. I don't know how to explain it. You know, like some people are like, ooh, that looks so beautiful. I'm like, yes, if you'd like to see a hand coming out of someone's head. But really cool game. I was very impressed with this one. This company, Awakened Realms, is just on fire, honestly, with all their stuff. So my number 2 is the Edge Dawnfall. All right. My number 1 favorite 2-player game is the one I said that you should only play with 2-player. You can play multiplayer, but would you play Star Realms multiplayer? You would not. So this one is also only 2 players for me, and I played it a lot. I know that it's essentially very similar to Star Realms. It's like if Star Realms and Ascension had a baby, and that is Shards of Infinity. But I do love this game. I love how quickly it plays. I love the experience points you can get. I like the, you know, like there's the experience points, and then when you have so many experience points, you can just, like here, this lets me get a card that costs 6 or less for free, right? But then if I'm at 15 level of experience, I can also just put that card right in my hand. And so the cards will change based on your experience points. And everybody has one card that essentially, if you get to a certain level of experience, you just blow your opponent away at like infinity damage. That's awesome. And again, like look at these. This gives you an experience, but then if I have 10 experience, it also gives me 5 health. And then there's Mercenaries, which were cards that you can, instead of just buying them, you pay for them, and then you play them right away rather than putting them in your deck. This is kind of weird for me because I like Shards of Infinity a lot, and there's no way I would call it innovative. It's not in my top 100 innovative games because a lot of the stuff in Shards of Infinity we've seen before, but it was done so in a very pleasing, quickly playing game, so easily my favorite 2-player game of the year. Alrighty. Oh, I did go pretty fast there. 11 minutes for my top 10 2-player games. So let's answer a few of your questions here. A lot of people asked about Duel Star Island. I have not played it yet. Melody played it without me. I will try to get it played shortly. So that's why that's not on my list at all. What else are people asking about? Too Fast, we need more. Fox in the Forest, I did not play. I've heard very good things about it. So that one I should probably get. I think Z was the one who reviewed that one. It is hard to get all, I think there was 4,000 games came out in 2018. It's hard to get them all into play. Wish we had the other guys take on this top 10 as well. Well, maybe they'll do it. Was War Chest closer top 10? It was like 11. War Chest is fantastic. Although I really like the 4-player War Chest a lot. When is Wingspan going up? That's not a 2-player game. Well, it could be, I guess. My Wingspan review will go up tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Monolith Arena? Nah. Hiroshima Hex has kind of fallen for me. So while I watched Sam and Z play Monolith Arena, it wasn't like blow my socks off. It looks interesting. I'm just not a huge person for Hiroshima Hex anymore. Let's see. Have you looked more into Skyward? This is your reminder if you've forgotten about it. I'm loving it, reading it very slowly. Well, I've already read half the book. I'm faster than you. I downloaded it yesterday. All right, let's see here. Keyforge better than Magic? I didn't say that. At this point in time, I would prefer to play it over Magic, but I'm not saying it's better. I don't know if I would say that at all. Critical Mass is a great 2-player game too. Yeah, I probably should have put that on the list, come to think of it. I just didn't because it's Dice Tower Essentials, and I usually, because I'm the person who helps get these games published, I usually don't think of them first when I'm putting together my best of the year list. But Critical Mass would have been a good one. Games Workshop games? Nope, I don't got time to put miniatures together, so you won't see one of those on my list. What's that tie you're wearing? This tie is a kimchi tie. See? Kimchi. Delicious. I'm wearing it because orange and purple go fairly well together. Not as well as yellow and purple, actually. But orange and purple aren't horrible together. Did I like Hanamane Koji? Or Hanamane, whatever, how you pronounce it. Yeah, it's okay. I don't like it as much as Sam does. Sam really likes it. Chronicles with 2 players is very good. Chronicles of Crime is good with 2 players. But I also like it with 3. Would you like to see Switch integration with board games? I don't care one way or the other. No pure abstracts on the list. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good pure abstract that I would make my top 10. I don't think there was one. Chess wasn't on my list. It was pretty... What? That doesn't even make any sense. All right. Reef is awesome at 2 players. Yeah, Reef is really good with 2, but I also really like it with 4. What does the die say at the beginning of all my episodes? It's also my FAQ. 5 minutes to put minis together in Night Vault and no need to paint. First of all, I feel like you're coming extremely close to lying with that 5-minute thing. I did the minis for the previous one, whatever it was called. What was it called? Shadespire, right? I put those. You can watch it live. It ain't no 5 minutes. You have to snap them off the sprues and then carefully put them together. That is way too much work for me. Do you know what I do when I get a Awakened Realms or CMON game? I open the bag and take the miniature out, and it's put together. It's amazing. Someone has got to explain to me why you would ever want to put a miniature together, unless you like doing it. If you don't like doing it, is it better? People are like, well, the miniatures are better. Look at an Awakened Realm miniature and compare it to a Games Workshop miniature. They look the same to me. Only like, it's like an $8,000 stereo system compared to the $200 one. All right, I'm getting on a ranty here. I didn't play Prowler's Passage, sorry. Railroad Ink, I didn't play that either. Do I like Through the Ages with 2 players? Sure, but that didn't come out in 2018. You spent hours putting the stickers on commands and colors. I did, and I hated it, and I was pretty clear on that too. Okay, so that being said, this is the second last of the top 10s list for 2018. Tomorrow, on Friday, I'll be doing my top 10 kids games. And then next week, possibly, if I can get the information, we'll be doing our top 10 most sold games, if I get the information from Cool Stuff from 2018. I always find that sort of thing really interesting. Tomorrow, though, come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Me and Sam and Z are going to be taking a look at our most anticipated games from 2018 and what we think about them now. And then at noon tomorrow, we'll be going over our most anticipated games for 2019. Alrighty, so I'll see you guys then. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching the top 10 2-player games of 2018. See y'all later.